Picture this. Energy's flowing, you're feeling great, so you decide to head out for a walk. Get a couple blocks down the road, you start heading up a small incline. Then all of a sudden, your low back starts to ache, starts to feel weak, starts to feel tired. You decide you turn around, you better stop before anything worse happens. If you can relate to this and you've got generalized low back pain that occurs when you start moving, I've got some helpful tips for you today. Coach Nicole here with NickiFit A to Z, and we're talking low back pain. We are going to mostly be focusing on what to do when it's that generalized low back pain that tends to occur from weakness due to just not really being active or leading that more sedentary lifestyle. If you've got a desk job, you probably know what I'm talking about here. Or if you just, maybe you are recovering from an illness and it's been months or even years since you've gotten back into movement. Or maybe you did have some more serious issues going on, maybe even a surgery, some of that lower lumbar surgery. Sometimes that can take, so that will take a lot of our strength out of our back as we recover from that. Also hernias, slip discs, degeneration, that can all cause some weakness. And we do need to be careful with a lot of that. But again, back to our generalized low back pain, or if you've been cleared by your doctor to do most forms of exercise, then I've got some helpful tips for you to continue to move while not only reducing back pain, but eliminating it from the movement itself, eliminating it from your exercise routines. One of the biggest keys in eliminating back pain when you are working out, when you are going, even starting to head out for a walk, is you want quite a bit of a warm up. Your body needs that, your muscles need that. So again, if you're going for a walk, spend a good 10 minutes walking a nice steady flat ground before you start taking any inclines. Allow your legs to start picking up a little bit higher. So take notice of that. Take notice of your steps. Are you kind of just shuffling around, or are your knees coming up a little bit higher? The significance in that is that when our knees are lifting higher, when we're taking a bigger step, we're using more of our gluteal muscles there. And that is really the basis of our back strength. So I use this a lot when I'm working with one-on-one clients, and especially if they are experiencing low back pain or recovering from a surgery or an illness. We focus on glute strength first and foremost, because that will support all movement through the low back. So again, picking feet up nice and wide, that is coming from our hips, that's coming from our glutes. That's strength we need to build. We need to warm those gluteal muscles up or get them activated. If you may have heard that term before, activating your gluteal muscles, taking those bigger steps, really getting them moving. So again, if that's something you notice in a walk, get yourself some nice time to warm up, at least 10 minutes on flat road before you start taking on some hills. Also, one thing to check in with on your walks, your upper body posture. Are you taking an excessive lean forward to come up? If you are, you're putting quite a bit of strain, especially on that low back, coming into that forward bend, maybe even flexing through those discs. You're putting quite a bit of strain on there. So they can get fatigued really quickly, could even be that cause of pain. So what we want to do, this is where core strength comes in. We want to, and good posture, we want to be able to come up a little bit taller here. Maybe only that slight shift, especially if we're striving to go uphill. Think about shoulders maybe only slightly in front of your hips versus a full forward lean right here. We want to keep our posture nice and tall, going strong here, shoulders back. And usually our whole body supports even just one area. So if we can have better posture, if we can hold ourselves up taller, that is going to help mitigate or reduce the low back pain in our movement, specifically in walking. Now, if we take a look at more strength-based movements and how we work out from there, then we're going to take a look at a couple different positions here, moving through a squat and also moving through a hip hinge or a deadlift. Several exercises do call for our hip hinge here. So these are things we really want to be mindful of. This is where mindful movement really comes in handy to slow things down, to really notice how your body is not only moving, but how it's feeling in that exercise itself. So similar to that walking uphill, a lot of times when we take squats, we have way too forward of a lean of our chest, and we're putting a lot of excessive flexing on our lower back here. So we're going to go ahead, moving through a standard squat position here. We'll have our toes nice and wide. We're going to relax our knees, Think about even your hips relaxed in this position. I'm going to stand to the side so you can see how my back and my posture is as I'm lowering into that squat. So I like to keep my hands in front of my chest because this is also kind of that signal. We want to keep those hands forward. We want to keep our hands lifted right here. So as we relax through the knees, starting to relax, shifting those hips back, I keep my chest and shoulders relatively in that same line of movement as they were before, not coming forward into that, not bringing into that trunk kind of flexation here. So again, we want to go ahead, keep your chest up nice and tall, moving through your squat, reducing any extra pressure that you're putting on the spine. And a good way to start moving through these definitely is working through just body weight till you start to build up that strength, noticing that feels easy. You don't feel any pain anymore doing moving through body weight squats. Then you can start to add some weight onto it, either with resistance bands or even dumbbells to start with, and then eventually working your way up to dumbbells if that, or with barbells if that's something you are wanting to work for. But I highly advise going just body weight first till you build up your strength and you no longer feel pain in the movement itself with just your body weight. Another significant movement that we see a lot in strength training is the hip hinge for something as such as a deadlift movement. So hip hinge, we really want to make sure our hips are warmed up for this. With that, I do like to do some pelvic tilts, warming up for I'm going to be doing a lot of deadlifting and a lot of hip hinging. So again, we want to find movement and flexibility throughout the hips. With a pelvic tilt, feet are wide, knees are soft. I like to put my hands kind of just on my hip bones right here because you'll really feel that movement. You're going to start to lift your tailbone back. Again, this is movement just coming from your hips. Nothing else on your body is moving. And then you're going to start to tuck your tailbone under. Think about kind of scooping your pelvis forward and then tucking it back under. Kind of tailbone lifts, tailbone comes under here. Maybe even give your glutes a little bit of that squeeze to bring it forward. Again, this is a really mindful movement. So this is also a great way to mind-body connection warm up here. Pelvic tilts. Maybe just taking about a set of 8 to 10 of those before you move into your deadlift movements. You'll notice quite a bit of flexibility has increased here in my hips and even in the soft tissue of my low back. With deadlifts, not only is that hip hinge important, but our knee position. We do not want to lock out our knees. If we feel low back pain when we're moving at any time, it is so important not to lock out your knees. We want our knees to be soft, a little bit of a bend every time. So in that deadlift movement, even just practicing it in front of a mirror, super key. We want to go ahead. Again, it's all about sending that tailbone back as I start to create that crease in my hips here, because that's where the hinge is happening. It's not happening in our waistline. We're not rounding forward. That's what's significant here. It's happening in the hip crease. Back almost stays completely out of it here. But my knees start to soften just slightly as well. They're unlocked or there's a slight bend here. That's exactly what we want. Knees supporting our back here. It's just like we've always been told. We don't want to lift a heavy box with our back. We want to bend with our knees. We want to squat down and get that. The same with all movement. Knees are soft. Knees are working with us right here. So again, I encourage you, practice your hip hinge in front of the mirror. But maybe mirror right off to your side. You're looking at it here. Watch your shoulders stay even. Your back stay nice and flat. Bending your knees as much as you need to come into that position. Again, practicing this just body weight, just this movement like this until you find that comfort in your movement here. Recognizing that no part of your back should be feeling this movement. It does not require any muscles of the back to go through a hip hinge or a deadlift. It's actually a lower body movement through glutes and mostly even hamstrings here. So again, we don't want any part of the back to play into that. So continue to practice body weight so you feel really comfortable coming into that flat back and you do not feel any strain coming through your low back in that movement. If you do, just shorten up your movement. Don't come down quite so low. Don't come down to that parallel position, chest parallel. And again, keep practicing at it, body weight, till you build that strength, till you build that comfort, till you notice that there is no strain coming through in your back. So points that we covered here today for better lower back health, reducing pain in a movement and reducing pain in general, because we do want to move. We do want to build strength throughout our backside to completely get rid of back pain. but you need to start slow. You need to have your warm up even when you're doing a walk. You need to check in with your posture. You need to just be really mindful. So that's posture, that's that checking in with your posture as well, being mindful of where your body is in your movement. So there's reduced strain on the back. It's also unlocking your joints, unlocking your hips, your knees, that pelvic tilt we practice. Again, that's kind of a cross between that warm up, unlocking the hips here. Knees are soft through that movement as well. Another quick point here, if you've ever been, again, thinking a movement and does not involve your back, if you've ever been on the ground and you're doing any abdominal movements from the ground, maybe you're doing some leg lowers or some leg lifts from the ground, you notice that strain is coming through your back, bending your knees is key in that position. More knee bend, the softer it is going to be on your back. So again, we want to avoid any kind of lockout in any kind of position with our knees in relation to better movement, reduce pain for our low back. So we want our warm-ups, super key warm-ups, mindfulness, being aware of our body and our posture, unlocking our hips, unlocking our knees, unlocking our joints, and practicing movement, body weight style, building strength before we jump too fast. So that's the key too, slowing it down, building your strength first, because the faster we go when we're not quite ready for it, we're going to induce more pain. We're also going to create more instances of injury. So let's reduce injury. Let's reduce pain. Let's be patient and mindful in our movement and feel better in everyday movement. So I'd love for you to subscribe to our channel here to watch for more videos just like this and even more extended workouts once we get you feeling good in your body. And also give this video a thumbs up here. Let me know if you liked it, if these tips were helpful to you so I can keep making more of what you want. Thank you so much for joining me here at NickiFit A to Z. Subscribe to that channel, give me a thumbs up, and I hope to see you here next week.